So, as we just covered, Glenn Greenwald released some new information about how the U.S. is spying on every phone call from the Bahamas, not just the Bahamas, but also Kenya, Mexico, and the Philippines. And the DEA and the NSA are working together. They're in bed, and they're spying not just for terrorism like they pretended all along. Hey, that's why we're doing it, just protecting the country. Now we learn they're also doing it for drug purposes, which is just such a brazen violation of the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Well, Julian Assange of WikiLeaks, another guy that we usually like right along with Glenn Greenwald, he's apparently pissed at Glenn Greenwald because of these recent leaks that he covered. So he got into a Twitter feud with him. Okay, that's interesting. Well, why is he mad? He says, quote, "We condemn First Look," that's Glenn Greenwald's site, "for following the Washington Post into censoring the mass interception of an entire nation." So Greenwald was a little confused. He responded, quote, "But there was a very convincing probability in that fifth country for how innocent people would die, which we all accepted." So let me stop here for a second and give you some backstory. What Assange is saying is, okay, you released 4 countries that are being spied on by the United States, but you don't release a 5th one. You know that there is a 5th, but you're not releasing it. Why are you withholding that information? That's fucked up. Release that information. Now let me continue with their argument. Assange says, quote, "It is not the place of First Look or the Washington Post to deny the rights of an entire people to know they are being mass recorded. First Look's argument for censoring the name of an entire nation recorded is the same as the argument Obama gave for censoring Abu Ghraib photos." Greenwald responded, "We published the name of 4 countries. The Washington Post withheld all the names, and WikiLeaks also withheld information," that's Julian Assange's site, "when they were convinced it could harm innocents. We were convinced that this one country would harm innocent people if we released it." Assange says, quote, "When has true published information harmed innocents? You are painting future publications into a corner with this Pentagon line. The innocents in this equation are the entire nation of citizens who are being recorded. Everything else is doubtful speculation." Greenwald says, "No, it's based on particular physical vulnerabilities of the small company involved." Assange says, quote, "The fact is, First Look is acting like a bunch of racists who believe citizens of U.S.-dominated countries do not have rights." Greenwald says, "Given that we just published 4 non-white countries whom the NSA wanted suppressed and the Washington Post did suppress, that's absurd." Assange says, "That's outrageously untrue. WikiLeaks will reveal the country within 72 hours. So again, let me explain exactly what this argument means. Assange is saying, here's the Cliff Note version. Okay, you released the information that 4 countries are being spied on by the U.S. Thank you for that, but you're not releasing the 5th one. That's fucked up. And Greenwald is saying, yeah, the reason why we're not releasing the name of the 5th country is that we have a good reason not to do it. We think it will harm innocent people if we do it because there's a company there that, who knows, there could be riots, they could be dragged out in the street, and it's usually a more dangerous country with, I don't know, a high gun ownership rate or whatever. He's saying, we know that we can't release this one because everybody agreed that we'd actually be violating a legitimate state secret if we did it, okay? So who's right and who's wrong? I think Greenwald is right. Look, here's the thing, and it kind of, at the end, Assange actually pissed me off. And don't get me wrong, I actually, by and large, like Julian Assange. I think he's an American hero in many ways for what he did with WikiLeaks releasing all this different information, which were illegitimate state secrets. But what Greenwald is saying is, look, dude, I agree with you that the U.S. government, they say that a lot of things are state secrets that shouldn't be state secrets, okay? We all agree on that, right? But that doesn't mean that there's no such thing as a legitimate state secret. That would be anarchy if there's no such thing as a legitimate state secret. So what? Okay, so anybody can be given the nuclear launch codes and we're expected for everything to go hunky-dory? I mean, would you want, members of the KKK to have access to nuclear launch codes? Would you want, I don't know, anybody in the U.S. who's mentally unstable to have the nuclear launch codes, and then, I don't know, a long chain of events could lead to them getting into the wrong hands? Or how about what Geraldo did, which is a violation of an actual legitimate state secret, when he drew on TV the coordinates of where U.S. troops were? That's a legitimate state secret that was violated, you know? So what Greenwald is saying is, whoa, let's calm down here, man. You're being an anarchist, Assange. You're being an anarchist. You're saying there's no such thing as any legitimate state secrets. And that's silly. And that's where, this is what I hate about what Assange is doing. If you actually take his argument to its logical conclusion, you're actually giving ammunition to the government to be worse and to continue to abuse their, illegitimate keeping of state secrets, Because then they could turn around and say, either you trust us and we're just keeping you safe, or you could trust this crazy person, Julian Assange, who thinks there should be no legitimate state secrets. You're not helping our case, man. Look, I'm willing to say that probably over 90% of the state secrets, and I'm just pulling that number out of my ass to be clear here, to be fair, but certainly a large percentage of the state secrets that are state secrets right now are illegitimate, right? Like they just say, I don't know, we don't like this paints us in a bad light, illegitimate. We don't like that paints us in a bad light, illegitimate. And they just fucking abuse it to no end, right? And the response to that is not to go to the opposite extreme and say, there's no legitimate state secrets, which is what Assange is doing here. It's to realize, well, look, as a reporter, which Glenn Greenwald is, it's my job to look through this stuff and figure out which things would actually harm national security, which things are actually legitimate state secrets, and which things are not legitimate state secrets. And the ones that aren't, I will release. That's what all the, the information has been that's coming out of Edward Snowden, that's coming out of, from Glenn Greenwald and from the Washington Post, and they're doing a fantastic job doing it. And the final thing is, where I knew Assange was 100% wrong is when he brought up the thing about racism. You're going to say that Glenn Greenwald is racist because he withheld one country's name that was being spied on because he was afraid that innocent people would die in that country if he did it? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Like Glenn said, he just said Kenya, Mexico, the Philippines, and the Bahamas. They're all being spied on. If he's racist, he has a weird way of showing it by giving a heads up to Kenya and saying, hey guys, you're getting spied on and it's fucked up. Just letting you know. To say he's racist, but that shows you. In Julian Assange's mind, he has this definitive answer and he's like, fuck you if you disagree. No, you're an abomination. You're outrageous if you disagree. But no, Julian, there is room for legitimate disagreement in the conversation, and to act like, release all the information. Well, then you're just being an anarchist and you're being silly and you're helping out the opposition, and you shouldn't do that. You should be more intelligent and more discerning like Glenn Greenwald is when he determines what information to release and what information to not release.